Peace and blessings, family. Back again. Your brother, your friend, back again for another installment. Today, I want to talk about a book that has heavily influenced me. I got a message on one of my videos asking about what are the top three books that have changed my life. Well, I've read hundreds of books, so I can't pinpoint on the top three that have changed my life because when I start thinking about the books, more other books come up, and I think, hey, that book changed my life too. Hey, what about that book? So instead, I just want to do book a series of like breakdowns of certain books that I read and how it affected me. Just as a backstory, I learned how to read when I was really young. Shout out to my mom and my pops. They taught me how to read through Hooked on Phonics. So this is Hooked on Phonics. It's something that came out back in the day. A lot of parents were using it in the late 80s, early 90s when I came into the Earthland. And my parents taught us how to read young. And so I've been reading ever since I was little. I read hundreds of books. Like I have a little library here. I've had books, lost books, started books, didn't finish them. And so I just want to talk about some books that I've read that have influenced me. The first one I want to discuss is a book by Arnold Ehret. Well, technically it's two books, but I'm only going to focus on one because it's the only one I have in my library right now. I gifted the other ones that I had of it, other copies. But it's a book by Arnold Ehret. And this is a backstory. When I was in college, I used to fast like maybe once a week. I would just take some time off and drink a lot of liquids, a lot of waters, some green smoothies. So allow my body to rest because we're constantly digesting food, and that takes a lot of energy to digest that food. I did another video, Key to Life, How to Eat to Live, and it talks about fasting, intermittent fasting, and how like caloric restriction actually, the studies showing that caloric restriction helps people live longer. Also improves your immune system, helps with focus. It does a lot of different things, fasting, because takes you burn calories when you're digesting food. And if you're always constantly digesting food, you're burning calories, converting excess calories into fat stores, and you're storing them as triglycerides, and the body's just constantly working. But when you fast, you get to have a break. Now, when you get some juice or you get some water, you still have something that your body's going off of, but you're not eating like heavy foods. So I used to do that once a week and just go into my body, get in tune with it, and really go into my mind and have time to kind of think. And so one day I was fasting and I used to get revelations or intuitive messages, and I got a message saying that I should go to a bookstore. It was a herb shop and a bookstore called Blue Nile. A lot of people know about it if you're from DC or you went to Howard, but it was on Georgia Avenue. And I was familiar with the books in there because I would go periodically and check out the books. And I went in and there was these two new books in there. One was called Rational Fasting and had a black and white cover. And the other one was called Mucusless Diet Healing System. Rational fasting is what attracted me because that day I was fasting. So I decided, hey, let me pick up Rational Fasting, and I flipped through it. And it was a young looking, well, he wasn't that young looking, but young looking European guy on the cover. And in the book, he talked about how he would fast intermittently. So he would fast, once a week, or he would fast every 2 weeks, or he'll fast, however often. And I was like, that's what I'm doing. I fast every so often. And so I started looking into it, and he was talking about the benefits of fasting. He was talking about how the body can heal itself and cleanse itself during the fast and rest. How the body is constantly maintaining equilibrium, constantly healing, constantly trying to get that homeostasis. But when you're constantly eating unhealthy foods, the body has to digest it, store what it can, eject things out in the GI tract. Plus, it has to deal with any cancer-causing, things, free radicals. It has to deal with a lot of stuff. So when you give it a chance to fast, it does what it does best, which is get that homeostasis. So you boom, 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 boom. You're always eating, but you stop for a while. You allow the body to heal up. And there's studies showing that. I put out another video about caloric restriction. There's studies showing that fasting is good for you. And then he talked about mucus and the mucusless diet healing system. And in this book, Scientific Method of Eating Your Way to Health, with contemporary insights to Arid, Professor Arnold Arid. So Arnold Arid basically was groundbreaking because he discovered that all disease is just mucus. It comes from mucus, right? Um, Now, science has been developing. So we have, if you're exposed to certain chemicals or if you have certain genetic traits and things like that, then you can get disease. But what he's talking about is chronic diseases, and how they come from a breakdown. They come from basically eating mucus forming foods. So he says that the body, runs on calories, proteins, nutrients. But when you eat mucus forming foods in excess, which are like a lot of the processed starches, processed sugars, dairies, meats, you're going to have mucus found in the body, which can cause inflammation. So when you have gastritis, peritonitis, you have all these anytime you have a part of the body with itis at the end of it, it means inflammation. He breaks down how that is really coming from the mucus that the body is trying to emit or get out, trying to expel. And so the less you put in, the less your body has to deal with. So it really changed the game because I used to study Dr. Sebi, Queen Afua, and Dr. Sebi used to always say disease is mucus. It comes from mucus. And I didn't understand what he was saying. I'm like, man, what is he talking about? Like, what does he mean it's mucus? But he broke down how these foods turn into mucus. A lot of starchy foods turn into that. Whereas clean eating, what do I have here? I think I got some food here. Clean eating, you eating, organic limes. You got you some organic avocados. You're gonna be in a good state. You're gonna be straight, mucusless, and then you're gonna be diseaseless. So I'll recommend this brother. He breaks down how to purify the blood using fruit juices, using fasting, eating salads, eating lots of vegetables, exercise. He really talks about how his health turned around through exercise, fasting, and eating a lot of healthy foods. So that's really one thing that changed my life because fasting is really spiritual. We need food. I'm a nutritionist. I really promote us eating, but fasting has a lot of benefits. And so studying Arnold Arid really changed my life and changed the game. It gave me a higher understanding of foods and what foods to avoid and things like that. So I'll recommend that you study Arnold Arid. Like I said, I have hundreds of books from religion to business and economics, history and culture, language. I like a lot of books, but this is just something this book is dear to me. I'm going to do some more books also, but I just want to start here. So peace and blessings, your brother, your friend, your dietitian, back again for another installment. I love my life, I love myself, and I appreciate you all. Peace.